Digital Dividends, Strengthening the Analog Foundation of the Digital Revolution. How the Internet Promotes Development, Benefits and Risks, with Deepak Mishra.
The image you see on the screen captures the very essence of the 2016 World Development Report. How rapidly digital revolution has spread around the world and to what extent people will go to be part of it. This photo, taken of the coast of Horn of Africa, shows migrants from Somalia crowding the night shores of Djibouti. And if you're curious as to why are they holding the cell phone into the air, you'll have to read the full WDR. Mobile phones have spread more rapidly than any technology before. Nearly 7 out of 10 people among the poorest 20% of the world population own a mobile phone. And almost 45% of the world population are now online. We are used to seeing the world from the perspective of its physical asset, which is land. But if we redraw the world map from the perspective of digital asset, which is people using internet, the world looks very different. The digital revolution has brought many immediate private benefits, easier communication, wide range of information, considerable saving in time, and new forms of leisure. But what about broader development gains? Faster growth, more jobs, better public services, which are collectively referred to as the digital dividends, similar in concept to peace dividends and demographic dividends. The WDR analyzes the impact from the perspective of three agents: business, people, and government. And the color coding you see on the screen is maintained throughout the report. We consider many technologies, from feature phone to smartphones, from computers to clouds, and from sensors to satellite. But the report is not about technology, it's about the impact on development. And to understand that, you'll have to meet some of the people and hear their stories, as we did while working on this project. Meng Hongwei owns a ranch in Shandong province in China. Meng trades live animals on Alibaba digital platform, which is part of the rapidly growing e-commerce sector in China. And his annual revenue is close to $50,000, a hefty increase from the $200 monthly disability benefit he used to get before. And Meng proudly says, "I'm not a disabled man, I'm an online businessman." According to Alibaba, it has 8 million online entrepreneurs, of which 62% are small and medium-scale entrepreneurs like Meng, 1/3 are women, and 1% are persons with disabilities. And all this couldn't have been possible without the digital technologies. A few years ago, a satellite passing over East Africa took pictures of many villages near Lake Victoria in Kenya. The satellite data were sent to freelancers working for Mechanical Turk in Philippines, who studied the level of luminosity of each house. That's the rate at which sunlight is reflected from the rooftop, which apparently is a good predictor of poverty in rural Kenya. After verifying the information on the ground, workers from Silicon Valley charity called Give Directly sent $1,000 unconditional cash transfer to poor households via M-Pesa, the mobile money platform. Siprosa Akoth, a widow you see on the screen, with 8 children, was one of the unexpected beneficiaries of this mobile money revolution. The previous industrial revolution had bypassed people like her, a woman born into poverty in a remote village in a poor country. But not this time, thanks to the spread of digital technologies. The children in this picture were once victims of human trafficking, condemned to a life of destitution. But in recent years, nearly 1 billion Indians have been issued digital identification, including the children. This is making it possible for the government and private sector to provide vital services to poor and vulnerable groups at a much lower price. Countries from Nigeria to Pakistan and Estonia to Singapore are other examples of successful use of digital identification to improve service delivery and reduce fiscal waste. And this couldn't have been possible without the digital technologies. Behind these inspiring stories lies some fascinating economics. Digital technology are expanding the information base, lowering the information cost, and creating information cost, thereby holding the potential to dramatically accelerate the pace of development. Let's go through them one by one. By greatly expanding the information base, technology helps to create new markets, jobs, and services, thereby promoting inclusion. By lowering information and coordination costs through automation, technology can make existing businesses, workers, and governments more productive, thereby boosting efficiency. Finally, by creating information goods, that is, when the product and the process all become digital and the marginal cost of producing and delivering those services essentially falls to zero, that's when technologies generate scale economies, creating new business models, and thereby promoting innovation. But everything I've said so far is what you'd find in a typical ICT report. Having established the benefit of digital technology through several anecdotes, many have argued that it's only a matter of time before this benefit reaches to everyone and to everywhere. We wish the story was that simple. Digital technology has become universal in many middle and high-income countries, but let's see what has happened to their growth, jobs, and governance in this country. The rapid spread of digital technology has been associated with not a surge in labor productivity growth, but a slowdown. Not a massive job creation and rising wages, but stagnant income for middle-class households and a polarized labor market in many advanced economies. And not in spread of democratic ideals and liberty around the world, but growing distrust towards establishment, state capture, and elite control. It's important to note that these trends are not because of digital technology, but they're happening in spite of them. In other words, digital technology is spreading rapidly, but digital dividends are not. Why not? We think there are two basic explanations behind this. The first is well known. Despite rapid technological expansion in many parts of the world, a significant digital divide persists. Out of 7.4 billion people in the world, 6 billion are without broadband, 4 billion without the internet, 2 billion without a mobile phone, and almost 400 million people still live outside any digital signal. And within each country, there's a digital access gap across income, age, geography, and yes, gender. Therefore, the unfinished task of making the internet universal, affordable, open, and safe remains an urgent priority, which is one of the main recommendations of this report. But this alone won't be enough. Why? Because technology is not neutral in its economic, social, and political impact. Among those who have access, the benefits of digital technology has been unevenly distributed, benefiting the better off, more educated, and better connected. As shown in this picture, digital technology are productivity bias, skills bias, and voice biased. Therefore, in the WDR, we argue that there are factors beyond technology that shape the development impact. We call them the analog foundations of the digital revolution. In the absence of these analog complements, the benefit will often fall short. So connectivity plus complements gives you inclusion, efficiency, and innovation, but connectivity minus the complements risks leading to a concentrated product market, which you call winner-take-all outcomes, a polarized labor market, greater income inequality, and more state control and elite capture. So what are these complements and how can developing countries be able to acquire them? The next speaker and my colleague Uwe Deichmann will talk about them.